example, in this book by Snyderman and Rothman, the IQ Controversy, is a survey of 1,000, a little over 1,000 of the elite psychologists in the country. And over 50% of these elite psychologists agree with Murray. They believe that there's a genetic difference in intelligence between IQ and school success. That's how they responded in this survey. There were 47% who answered yes, there's a genetic difference of the ones surveyed, but of the ones who responded, 47% responded, over half of the ones who responded said they believed that white people were more intelligent than black genetically.
So the notion that Murray is letting out some little secret is not...
Well, no, but let's follow the line, because there's another survey that was also done of whites and others in the general population. And this was done at the Chicago's Opinion Research Center between the University of Chicago and the University of California, San Diego. Two scientists a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, surveyed the general population. They found out that approximately 57% of the whites in America believe that black people are genetically inferior to whites in intelligence. So you have Murray's book, then you have better than 50%, I think it's around 54% of the respondents in this survey of the elite psychologists in the country who agree with that point of view. Then you have approximately 57% of the general population who agree and who are willing to say so. So I don't think it's a secret, and it's clearly an opinion that is well supported in the general culture. Many of your viewers will want references and things to read, and especially the state-of-the-art scientific references. This is an extremely important book. There was a conference in 1988 in Melbourne, Australia, and it was a gathering of the world's top psychologists. And the purpose of that conference was to figure out what did they really know about intelligence and what did they really know about the measurement of intelligence. And the conclusions are in this book. There are a series of papers. This is a list of the top papers presented at this top conference. And to my knowledge, there's been no summit conference on intelligence since then. As far as I know, Murray was not at this conference. But the point was that there were 3 things that came out in this conference that are related to that book. One, at the conference, they could not agree after all of these years on what intelligence is. So there's no scientific definition of intelligence. There's all kinds of competing theories, but there's no agreement. That's not the strongest argument, though. The strongest argument is that when you try to measure intelligence, what this group of conferees agreed with was that they finally understand that the attempt to measure intelligence is going to be contaminated because you're trying to measure intelligence in a particular situation or a context. That I'm a product of my neighborhood, you know, that my intelligence has to be manifest through the things that I learned to do, not through the things that were learned to do across town that I've never been exposed to. That's a different context. I'm in one context, someone else is in the other context. Psychologists tried to ignore context and create a universal instrument that would measure everybody in exactly the same way. What this conference said, you can't do that. That what things mean, they mean only in the context where you took your measure. Now, most IQ tests, like the Wechslers and the Binets, do not pay attention to what I just said. And the last thing that was presented at this conference and unrebutted was that if you put someone in a problem-solving situation and you give them a very complicated problem and you see who solves that problem, and the problem is new. If it's a new problem, complicated, and you give them an IQ test and see whether the high IQ people do better than the low IQ people on this problem, what they find is there's no relationship between the IQ score and complex, novel problem-solving ability. Now that's the thing that the IQ test is supposed to be able to do best. And here it has no effect whatsoever, which is another scientific way of saying that the IQ test is basically pseudoscience.